Hello class, welcome to this week's filmmaking lesson. So before we get started, I wanted to tell you guys about sponsor video and new logos. There are 2 sponsor videos and 2 logos for the week. So, do you have a good March break? Any questions? Yes, Hiroshima. I had a good March break because I was being in the park and the playground. That's good to you, Hiroshima. What about you, Mika? Um, I like being as a conductor, but I really enjoyed this music. Oh, that's a good idea. Anyway, so let's talk about sponsor video. Alright, so in sponsor video they said about yeah, Disneyland Resorts. If you guys want to book a vacation to the trip to Disneyland Resort, you can. And also there's gonna be Epcot International Flower and Gardening Festival. So, yep, it's about the festival who made in Walt Disney World, and if you guys book a trip, that's fine. And another logo is called Inkle Today. It's about Inko was struggling to see something. And Washington and Mississippi Today was a news broadcast where all the logos to have been we reached the limit of this broadcast of report. So now let's do home video releases. This is the first part. Let's go to 2019 home video. Yeah, last week it was March break, so we're gonna do 2 things. We're gonna do 7 things at once, okay? We done this, yeah, we done this. Okay, we done this, we done this, we done this, we've done this. Yep. Okay, we done this. Alright, we done this. Yes, we done this. We've done this before. That's good. Okay, there's something we didn't do that before. It's called Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. It's from Warner Brothers. Here we go. Okay, let's read the plot in this film. It's a long plot, so yeah, it's gonna be a long plot. In 1927, the Magical Congress of the United States of America, MAC-USA, is transferring the powerful dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald from their New York maximum security prison to London so he can be tried for his crimes in Europe. Grindelwald escapes during the transfer, aided by his follower and MAC-USA employee, Abernathy. 3 months later in London, Newt Scamander appeals to the Ministry of Magic to restore his revoked international travel rights following his misadventure in New York City. While at the Ministry, Newt runs into Leta Lestrange, an old Hogwarts classmate who is engaged to his brother, Theseus and Auror, in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. The Ministry offers to restore Newt's travel rights if he assists Theseus in locating the obscure Credence Barebone, who has resurfaced in Paris. They believe Credence may be Leta's long-lost brother, Corvus Lestrange, the last of a long line of pure-blood wizards. Grindelwald believes only Credence can kill his equal Hogwarts professor Albus Dumbledore. Newt, however, refuses to choose a side, and the Auror Grimson is dispatched instead. After leaving the Ministry, Newt is secretly summoned by Dumbledore, who is under constant Ministry surveillance for refusing to confront Grindelwald, with whom he shared a close personal relationship in their youth. Dumbledore tries to persuade Newt to locate Credence, though Newt does not give him an answer. After he arrives home, Newt's American friends, Queenie Goldstein and Jacob Kowalski, unexpectedly arrive at his house. Jacob's recollection of the New York City incident are mostly intact, As MACUSA's citywide obliviation order only erased the bad memories of the Mughal witnesses, and his were mostly good, Queenie and Jacob have followed Queenie's sister Tina to Europe, where she is searching for credence. Newt is unhappy to learn that Tina mistakenly believes he and Lita Lestrange are engaged. Seeing Jacob's odd behavior, Newt realizes that Queenie has enchanted him into eloping to Europe with her to circumvent MACUSA's marriage ban between wizards and muggles. After Newt lifts the charm, Jacob and Queenie quarrel about the marriage law, and an upset Queenie leaves to find Tina. Newt realizes Tina is in Paris, and ignoring the travel ban, he and Jacob follow the sisters to Europe. In Paris, Tina searches for credence at a wizard freak show at the Circus Arcanus. Credence and Nagini, a young female circus attraction who can transform into a snake, escape after causing the distraction. While searching for Credence's birth mother, Credence and Nagini locate the servant who put him up for adoption. However, Grimson, who is secretly working for Grindelwald, arrives and kills her. Meanwhile, Tina meets Yusuf Kama, who is also hunting Credence. Later, Newt and Jacob also encounter Yusuf and follow him to Tina. Yusuf, revealed to be Lita's maternal half-brother, says he made an unbreakable vow to kill Credence, whom he believes is his stepbrother Corvus, and the last of the Lestrange family. Newt and Tina infiltrate the French Ministry of Magic to retrieve documents confirming Credence's identity. While there, the two counsel after Tina learns Newt was never engaged to Lita. Lita herself later discovers them and joins the search, which leads them to a Lestrange family tomb in the Père Lachaise cemetery. Lita reveals that Credence cannot be Corvus Lestrange as a child. She inadvertently caused the death of her infant brother by switching him with baby Credence, while on the doomed New York-bound passenger ship, thereby sparing Credence and leaving Corvus presumably drowned. Meanwhile, a fabricated trail has lured Credence to Lestrange's tomb, where Grindelwald is holding a rally for his followers. Jacob finds Queenie, now seemingly aligned with Grindelwald in the audience there. Grindelwald preaches the abolition of laws concealing wizards from muggles, and utilizes magic images of the imminent Second World War to justify worldwide wizard supremacy and domination. Horrors surround the rally, led by Theseus, but Grindelwald fends them off while unleashing his emissaries to spread his word across Europe. Grindelwald casts a circle of blue flame to divide followers from enemies. Credence and Queenie cross over to join him, while Lita sacrifices herself to save Newt. Tina, Jacob, Yusuf, Nagini, and Theseus, as Grindelwald escapes. The remaining heroes unite alongside the immortal alchemist Nicholas Flamel to fend off a curse that Grindelwald directed at Paris. Seeing the devastation, Newt realizes he must join the fight. At Hogwarts, Newt gives Dumbledore a vial, secretly taken for Grindelwald, that contains a blood pact that Grindelwald and Dumbledore made as teenagers. Newt correctly surmises that the pact magically prevents the two from combating each other. Dumbledore believes it may be possible to destroy the pact. In his base at Nuremberg in Austria, Grindelwald tells Credence that he is actually Albus Dumbledore's long-lost brother, Aurelius, and the only person powerful enough to defeat him. Queenie uses her mind-reading ability to advise Grindelwald on ways to control Credence. A baby bird that Credence had been caring for is revealed to be a phoenix, a bird associated with the Dumbledore family. Grindelwald then provides Credence with his first wand, and the film ends as Credence casts a spell for the first time. Okay, so let's do Godzilla. Godzilla is a 1998 movie, so here's a plot to this film. In Marin Iguana, Nest is exposed to a fallout of radiation following a military nuclear test in French Polynesia. In the South Pacific Ocean, a Japanese fishing vessel is suddenly attacked by an enormous sea creature with only one seaman surviving. Traumatized, he is questioned by a mysterious Frenchman in the hospital regarding what he saw, to which he only replies Gojira. Dr. Nick Tatopoulos, an NRC scientist, is in the Chernobyl exclusion zone in Ukraine researching the effects of radiation on wildlife, but he is interrupted by the arrival of an official from the U.S. State Department. He is sent to Panama and Jamaica, escorted by the military to study a trail of wreckage across land leading to the recovered Japanese fishing ship with massive claw marks on it. Nick identifies skin samples he discovered in the shipwreck as belonging to an unknown species. He dismisses the military's theory that the creature is a living dinosaur, instead deducing it is a mutant created by nuclear testing. The 220 meters long creature travels to New York City during the rainy season, leaving the path of destruction in its wake. The city is evacuated before the U.S. military attempts to kill it, but fails in an initial attempt. Nick collects a blood sample, and after performing a pregnancy test, discovers that the creature reproduces asexually and is collecting food for its offspring. Eventually, Nick meets up with his ex-girlfriend, Audrey Timmons, a young news reporter who wants to find a story. While she visits him, she uncovers a classified tape in his provisional military tent which concerns the origins of the monster and turns it over to the media. She hopes to have her report put on TV and hopes to become famous, but her superior and boss, Charles Kamen, uses the tape in his broadcast, declaring it as his own discovery, and dubs the creature Godzilla. With the classified information released mainly because of his actions, Nick is removed from the operation and abandons Audrey. Soon, he is kidnapped by Philippe Roche, an insurance guy he met before coming to Manhattan. Revealing himself as an agent of the French Secret Service, Philippe and his colleagues have been keeping a close watch on the events and plan to cover up their country's role in the nuclear testing that created Godzilla. Suspecting a nest somewhere in the city, they cooperate with Nick to trace and destroy it. Following the second encounter with the military, Godzilla dives into a Hudson River to evade the military, where it is attacked by Navy submarines. After colliding with torpedoes, Godzilla sinks, believing it is finally dead. The authorities celebrate. Nick and Philip's strike team, followed by Audrey and her cameraman, Victor Animal Pelotti, find the nest inside Madison Square Garden and locate over 200 eggs. Before the French can succeed in destroying them, The eggs suddenly hatch and the offspring attack. Nick, Animal, Audrey and Philippi take refuge in the garden's broadcast booth and successfully send out a live news report to alert the military of what will happen if the offspring escape. A prompt response involving an airstrike is initiated as the four escape moments before Air Force jets bomb the arena. Audrey and Nick reconcile and kiss before the adult Godzilla, having survived, emerges from the garden's ruins. Enraged by the deaths of its young, it chases the four across Manhattan. After a taxi chase, they manage to trap Godzilla within the Brooklyn Bridge, where the returning Air Force jets manage to shoot it down. Godzilla dies from its wounds, while the remaining citizens celebrate. Audrey tells Kaiman that she quits working for him after what he did. Before leaving with Nick, Philippi, taking a tape that Animal was recording and promising to return it after removing a few items from it, thanks Nick for his help and parts ways. In the ruins of Madison Square Garden, a single surviving egg hatches and the emerging hatchling roars. Okay, so let's do Mortal Engines, okay? So it's Mortal Bugs, you know. Alright, here's a plot to this film. Following a cataclysmic conflict known as the 60-Minute War, the remnants of humanity regroup and form mobile predator cities under a philosophy known as municipal Darwinism. Larger cities hunt and absorb smaller settlements in the Great Hunting Ground, which includes Great Britain and continental Europe. In opposition, settlements of the Anti-Traction League have developed an alternative civilization consisting of static settlements, traditional non-mobile cities in Asia led by Shanguo, formerly China, protected by the Shield Wall. Relics of the 21st century technology such as toasters, computers, and smartphones are valued as old tech. The City of London captures a small mining town called Salzakin, absorbing its population and resources under orders of Lord Mayor Magnus Krum. A masked woman among the Salzakins is Hester Shaw, who seeks to assassinate Thaddeus Valentine, head of the Guild of Historians. Tom Natsworthy, a teenage apprentice historian, is sent to London's Gut to collect old tech for London's museum. Accompanied by Valentine's good-natured daughter Catherine, Hester attempts to kill Valentine, but Tom intervenes, pursuing Hester to a waste chute. Hester escapes, but not before telling him that Valentine murdered her mother and scarred her face. When Tom informs Valentine of this, he pushes Tom down the chute. Tom and Hester are forced to work together to traverse the Great Hunting Ground, finding refuge in a town called Scuttlebug, but the owners lock them in a cell and intend to sell them as slaves. Hester confides that Valentine killed her archaeologist mother, Pandora, after stealing a piece of old tech she found in the dig of the dead continent of Americas. Whilst young Hester escaped with a necklace her mother gave her. Meanwhile, Valentine frees Shrike, a reanimated cyborg known as a stalker from an offshore prison to hunt down and kill Hester. At the slave market of Rustwater, Tom and Hester are rescued by Anti-Traction League agent Anna Frank. During the chaos, Tom and Hester are pursued by Shrike, whom Hester reveals she knows. Hester explains that Shrike had found and raised her, and Hester promised to let him turn her into a stalker like himself. but she left after discovering that London was in the great hunting ground. On London, Catherine grows estranged from her mother, especially after apprentice engineer Bevis Pod informs her that Valentine pushed Tom down the chute, and they learn Valentine's energy project in the repurposed St. Paul's Cathedral is more than it seems. Hester and Tom travel in on Anna's airship, the Jenny Henniver, to the airborne city Airhaven, meeting with other members of the Anti-Traction League. Tom realizes what Pandora discovered in Medusa and a quantum energy-based superweapon used during the 16-minute war, capable of destroying cities in an instant. Strike catches up with them and Airhaven is destroyed in the ensuing fire. Following the first fierce skirmish, Strike is mortally wounded, realizing that Hester is in love with Tom. Before perishing, he makes peace with Hester and frees her for her promise, and as he dies, memories of him and Hester flash before his eyes. Hester, Tom, and Anna then travel to the shield wall with the surviving anti-tractionists. On London, Valentine kills Chrome in a club and musters support from Londoners by vowing to destroy the shield wall with Medusa and lead them to a new hunting ground in Asia. Anna convinces Governor Kwan to launch the anti-contractionist fleet against London, but Medusa destroys a fleet and blasts a hole through the shield wall. Hester discovers that her mother's necklace hides a crash dive with a kill switch for Medusa. Hester and Tom and Anna and the remaining anti-contractionists lead a raid against London, braving the city's anti-aircraft defenses. Hester and Anna infiltrate St. Paul's, and though Valentine mortally wounds Anna during a sword duel, Hester disables the Medusa with a crash drive. Still determined to destroy the shield wall, Valentine orders his henchmen to kill the city's control crew and ram it into the wall. With Catherine's help, Tom uses the Henrier to destroy London's engine. Valentine attempts to flee, but Hester pursues and fights him aboard on his airship, where he reminds her that he is her father. Tom rescues Hester and shoots down Valentine's ship, which is crushed by London's slowing tracks, killing Valentine. The surviving Londoners, led by Catherine, make peace and the anti-tractionists, whilst Tom and Hester travel in the Henrier to see the world. Anyway, let's look up on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Here's a plot to this film. In 1947, Los Angeles Toons acted in theatrical cartoon shorts as with live-action films. They regularly interacted with real people and animals, and reside in Toontown. Private Detective Eddie Valiant and his brother Teddy once worked closely with the Toons on several famous cases, but after Teddy was killed by a Toon, Eddie lapsed into alcoholism and vowed never to work for Toons again. Rocky Maroon, head of Maroon Cartoon Studios, is concerned about the recent poor performances of one of his biggest stars, Roger Rabbit. Maroon hires Valiant to investigate rumors about Roger's voluptuous Toon with wife Jessica being romantically involved with businessman and gadget inventor Marvin Acme, owner of both Acme Corporation and Toontown. After watching Jessica perform at the Underground Ink and Paint Club, Valiant secretly photographs her and Acme playing patty cake in her dressing room, which he shows to Roger. Maroon suggests to Roger that he should leave Jessica, but a drunken Roger refuses and flees. The next morning, Acme is discovered dead at his factory by the Los Angeles Police Department with a safe dropped on his head, and evidence points to Roger being responsible. While investigating, Valiant meets Judge Doom, Toontown's Superior Court judge, who has created a substance capable of killing a toon, a toxic dip made of turpentine, acetone, and benzene. Valiant runs into Roger's toon co-star Baby Herman, who believes Roger is innocent and that Acme's missing will, which will give the Toons ownership of Toontown, may be the key to his murder. Valiant finds Roger, who begs him to help exonerate him, hiding in his office. Valiant reluctantly hides Roger in a local bar, where his ex-girlfriend Dolores works. Jessica approaches Valiant and says that Maroon forced her to pose for the photographs so he could blackmail Acme. Doom and his toon weasel henchmen discover Roger, but he and Valiant escape with Benny, an anthropomorphic taxicab. They flee to a theater where Valiant tells Roger that a toon killed Teddy, that they were investigating a bank robbery by dropping a piano on his head. As they leave with Dolores, Valiant sees a newsreel detailing the sale of Maroon cartoons of Cloverleaf, a mysterious corporation that bought the city's Trolley network. Shortly before Acme's murder, Valiant goes to the studio to confront Maroon, leaving Roger to guard outside, but Jessica knocks Roger out and puts him in the trunk. Maroon tells Valiant that he blackmailed Acme into selling his company so he could sell the studio, then tearfully admits he only did so out of fear for the safety of the Toons, and is killed before he can explain the consequences of the missing will. Valiant spots Jessica fleeing the scene, and assuming she is the culprit, follows her into Toontown. Jessica reveals that Doom killed Acme and Maroon, and that Acme gave her his will for safekeeping, but she discovered that the will was blank. She and Valiant are captured by Doom and the Weasels. At the Acme factory, Doom reveals his plot to destroy Toontown with a machine loaded with dip to build a freeway. The only way past Toontown since Cloverleaf, which Doom owns, has bought out of Los Angeles Pacific Electric Railway. Roger unsuccessfully attempts to save Jessica, and the couple is tied onto a hook in front of the machine's house. Valiant performs a comedic vaudeville act, causing the Weasels to die of laughter. Valiant kicks their leader into the machine's dip vat, killing him. Valiant fights Doom, who is flattened by a steamroller but survives, exposing him as a toon. Doom reveals that he killed Teddy. Valiant uses a toon mallet with a spring-loaded boxing glove and fires at a switch that causes the machine to attempt to empty its dip into Doom, dissolving him. The empty machine crashes through the wall into Toontown, where it is destroyed by a train. Toons run in to regard Doom's remains. Roger discovers that he inadvertently wrote his love letter to Francesca on Acme's will, which was written in reappearing ink. Roger shocks Valiant with a joy buzzer, and Valiant gives him a kiss, having regained his sense of humor. Valiant happily enters Toontown and Dolores, and Roger and with Jessica, followed by the other Toons. Okay, so let's do Mary Poppins. It's a 1964 film, but let's take a look. In Edward in London, 1910, Bert entertains a crowd as one-man band when he senses a change in the wind. Afterwards, he directly addresses the audience and gives them a tour of Cherry Tree Lane. Stopping outside the Banks family's home, George Banks returns home to learn from his wife, Winifred, that Katie, Nana, has left their service after Jane and Michael run away again. They they are returned shortly after by Constable Jones, who reveals the children were chasing a lost kite. The children ask their father to help build a better kite, but he dismisses them, taking it upon himself to hire a new nanny, Mr. Banks advertises to a stern, no-nonsense nanny. Instead, Jane and Michael present their own advertisement for a kinder, sweeter nanny. Mr. Banks rips up the letter and throws the scraps in the fireplace, but the remains of the advertisement magically float up and out into the air. The next day, a number of elderly, sour-faced nannies wait outside the Banks' home, but a strong gust of wind blows them away, and Jane and Michael witness a young nanny descending from the sky using her umbrella. Presenting herself to Mr. Banks, Mary Poppins calmly produces the children's restored advertisement and agrees with its requests, but promises the astonished banker she will be firm with his children. As Mr. Banks puzzles over the advertisement's return, Mary Poppins hires herself and convinces him it was originally his idea. She meets the children, then helps them tidy their nursery through song before heading out for a walk in the park. Outside they meet Bert, working as a screever. Mary Poppins uses her magic to transport the group into one of his drawings. While the children ride on the carousel, Mary Poppins and Bert go on a leisurely stroll. Mary Poppins later enchants the carousel horses and participates in the horse race, which she wins. While being asked to describe her victory, Mary Poppins announces a nonsense word. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, however, the outing is ruined when a thunderstorm dissolves Bert's drawings, returning the group to London. In another outing, the four meet weird Uncle Albert, who has floated up in the air due to his uncontrollable laughter. They join him for a tea party on the ceiling by telling jokes. Mr. Banks becomes annoyed by the household's cheery atmosphere and threatens to fire Mary Poppins. Instead, Mary Poppins and Bert's his attempt by convincing him to take the children to the bank for a day. Mr. Banks takes Jane and Michael to the bank, where they meet Mr. Dawes Sr. and his son Mr. Dawes. Aggressively attempts to have Michael invert his tuppence in the bank. Snatching it from him, Michael demands it back, causing the other customers to misinterpret, and all demand their own money back, causing a bank run. Jane and Michael flee the bank, getting lost in the East End until they run into Bert, now working as a chimney sweep, who escorts them home. The three and Mary Poppins venture onto the rooftops, where they have a song and dance number with no other chimney sweeps, which spills out into the Banks home. An incensed Mr. Banks returns and receives a phone call from his employers. He speaks with Bert, who tells him he should spend more time with his children before they grew up. Jane and Michael give their their father Michael's tuppence in the hope to make amends. Mr. Banks walks through London to the bank, where he is given a humiliating cashiering and is dismissed. Looking to the tuppence for words, he blurts out supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, tells one of Uncle Albert's jokes, and happily heads home. Dawes mules over the joke, but finally gets it and floats up into the air, laughing. The next day, the wind changes, meaning Mary Poppins must leave. A happier Mr. Banks is found at home, having fixed his children's kite, and takes the family out to fly it in the park. The Banks family meets Mr. Dawes Jr., who reveals his father died laughing from the joke. Although initially sorry, Mr. Banks soon becomes happy for him, as Mr. Dawes Jr. had never seen his father happier in his life, and re-employs Mr. Banks as a junior partner. With her work done, Mary Poppins flies away with Bert bidding her farewell, telling her not to stay away too long. Okay then, so let's do Mary Poppins Returns. It's a sequel to Mary Poppins 1964. Yeah, a colloquium on Romeo and Juliet. You did a really good job, guys. You did a really good job on Romeo and Juliet. I'm really proud of you guys. Okay, the film is set in 1930s London after the death of his wife, and a year earlier, Michael Banks lives in his childhood home with his three children, Annabelle, John, and Georgie, and with his sister Jane. Michael has taken a loan from his employer, the Fidelity Fiduciary Bank in Wilkins. The bank's corrupt new chairman sends an associate to warn him that his house will be repossessed. The loan is not repaid in full by Friday. Michael and Jane recall that their father had left them shares in the bank that should cover the loan, and they search the house for the share certificate. During the search, Michael finds his childhood kite and decides to dispose of it. While out in the park with Annabelle and John, Georgie finds the kite and flies it. Mary Poppins descends from the sky with the kite in her hand. She takes the children home and announces that she will take charge of them as her nanny. She draws a bath for the three children, which leads to adventures under the sea. Michael visits the bank, seeking proof of his shares, but Wilkins denies there are any records before covertly destroying the page from the official ledger. Annabelle and John decide to sell their mother's priceless bowl to pay off the debt. Georgie tries to stop them, and the bowl becomes damaged while the three fight over it. Jack, a lamplighter, greets Mary Poppins and joins her and the children on a trip into the painting on the side of the bowl. Georgie is kidnapped by a talking wolf, weasel, and badger, and Annabelle and John set out to rescue him. They do so successfully, then wake in their beds, thinking their experience was a dream, but realizing it was shared. The next day, Mary Poppins and the children visit her cousin Topsy to get the bowl mended, and find out it has little monetary value. They go on to the bank to take Michael for his briefcase, but when the children visit Wilkins' office to ask for help, they overhear him planning to repossess their house, believing that Wilkins and his associates are the same animal gang who kidnapped him. Georgie interrupts the meeting. Michael becomes angry with the children for putting the house and his job at risk. Mary Poppins takes the children home, guided by Jack and his fellow lamplighters, who teach the children their lingo. As midnight on Friday approaches, the Banks family prepare to move out of their house. While examining his old kite, Michael realizes that Georgie has used the missing sheriff certificate to mend it. Michael and Jane head to the bank while Mary Poppins and the children go with Jack and the lamplighters to Big Ben to turn back time. After scaling the clock tower, Jack and Mary turn the clock back 5 minutes, giving Michael and Jane just enough time to reach the bank. Wilkins, however, will not accept the certificate as part of it if it is still missing. Wilkins' elderly uncle, the bank's previous chairman, Mr. Dulles Jr., arrives and sacks Wilkins on the spot of his corrupt business practices. He reveals that Michael has plenty of assets to cover the loan, namely the judiciously invested tuppence that his father had deposited in them many years earlier in the original Mary Poppins film. The next day, the family visit the park, where the fair is in full swing. They purchase balloons that carry them into the air, where they are joined by Jack and numerous others. On their return home, Mary Poppins realizes it is time for her to leave. Michael and Jane thanks her as her umbrella carries her back up and into the sky and away. Okay, anyway, that's Mary Poppins Returns film. I hope you did a really good job at Cam over Juliet. We're doing home video releases. Let's do Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's an animated film, but it was theatrical release poster. Well, this wasn't a long plot, so. Anyway, teenager Miles Morales struggles living up to the expectations of his parents, especially his father's police officer, Jefferson Davis, who sees Spider-Man as a menace. After school, Miles secretly visits his uncle Aaron Davis, who brings Miles into an abandoned subway station where he can paint graffiti. While there, Miles is unknowingly bitten by a radioactive spider, and the next day discovered it gave him spider-like abilities, including a powerful venom blast and the ability to turn invisible. Miles returns to the station to search for the spider and intentionally discovers a particle accelerator built by Wilson Fisk in order to access parallel universes to find alternative versions of his wife and son, who died in a car crash while escaping after they found him trying to kill Spider-Man. He tries to disable the accelerator while fighting two of Fisk's enforcers, Green Goblin and Prowler. During this fight, Spider-Man saves Miles from falling to his death and senses that they are alike. Green Goblin tries to kill Spider-Man by shoving him into the accelerator when it's running, which causes an explosion that seriously wounds Spider-Man and kills Green Goblin. Spider-Man gives Miles a USB drive to disable the accelerator and warns that the machine could destroy the city if turned on again. Miles then watches in horror as Fisk kills Spider-Man before fleeing from Prowler. Inspired by a speech given by Mary Jane at Spider-Man's funeral, Miles tries out his newfound abilities in a recently purchased Spider-Man Halloween costume, but in the process damages the USB drive at Spider-Man's grave. Miles meets Peter B. Parker, an older and worn-down version of Spider-Man from another dimension whose Aunt May is deceased. and has been recently divorced from Mary Jane. Peter reluctantly agrees to train Miles in exchange for help stealing data to create a new drive. While breaking into Kingpin's research the facility, they are confronted by Fisk's chief and scientist Olivia Octavius, who reveals that Peter will deteriorate and die if he stays longer in their dimension. Miles and Peter are then rescued by Gwen Stacy, another dimension-displaced heroine. Gwen, Peter, and Miles find Peter's aunt, Mary Parker, who is sheltering dimension-displaced heroes Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, and Penny Parker, who are also deteriorating. Miles offers to disable the accelerator so that others can return home, but their responsibility quickly overwhelms him when the heroes test his underdeveloped powers. Miles retreats to Aaron's home, where he discovers that Aaron is a prowler. He returns to Mary's house, where Penny has completed the drive. However, he is followed by Fisk, Prowler, Octavius, and Scorpion and Tombstone, leading to a brawl. Miles flees Mary's house but is captured by Prowler before unmasking himself in front of Aaron, unwilling to kill Miles. Aaron is shot by Fisk. Miles flees with Aaron, but Aaron succumbs to his injury and dies. Jefferson sees Miles mourning over Aaron, and as he flees, Jefferson concludes that Spider-Man killed him. The Spider People regroup with Miles in his dorm. Peter restrains Miles with his webs to ensure his safety before heading out with the Spider People, choosing to sacrifice himself by staying behind and deactivating the accelerator. Jefferson arrives outside Miles' door and, assuming he does not want to speak to him, apologizes for his own mistakes. Miles manages to control his powers. He goes to Aunt May's, where the gang gains a web shooters and spray paints Peter's classic suit, then joins the other Spider People and helps them defeat Fisk's forces before activating the USB drive and sending them home. Fisk and Miles fight throughout the accelerator, attracting Jefferson's attention. As Miles is nearly killed, Jefferson realizes that Spider-Man is not the enemy and encourages him, giving Miles the motivation to paralyze Fisk with his Venom Blast and throw him at the kill switch, destroying the accelerator. The authorities arrest Fisk and his enforcers, and Jefferson recognizes Spider-Man as a hero. Miles embraces the responsibilities of his new life. Back in their dimensions, Peter prepares to fix his relationship with Mary Jane. The other Spider People return to their lives, and Gwen finds a way to contact Miles across the dimension. In another dimension, Miguel O'Hara's assistant, Layla, informs him of the crisis and gives him dimension-hopping technology. He decides to go back to the beginning and ends up arguing with that universe's Spider-Man. Okay, that's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse we got. So, we're done home re-releases for the first time. So I hope Atlantic Puffin Part 2 and other types of parts, they will continue on Atlantic Puffin's story, okay? So, let's see. Second, we're gonna do shorts film. Emma Monkey Pictures and Mormon Cow Productions and Donkey Teeth Company shorts. It's called Princess Rona is finding a true hero of Yusha. So yeah, and she finds out that Yusha will fight the bulldozer, and Princess Rona will join her class as a classmate of her transfer student. So on Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, there was like Kotetsu Detejima's birthday, but it was like Kotetsu Detejima's birthday will be out. It's already at March 14th, so you can celebrate her, and we will give her presents, okay? So this is Kotetsu Dejima. She will be as her birthday gift. So you guys can give her birthday presents when she will celebrate at her classmate. So anyway, that's all I got for today. Let's do some work right now.